It's time to do something about spelling. We can all agree that students can learn to spell better in their writing. We're a culture concerned with appearances, and even with spell checkers on computers, students' writing often lacks the look of literacy. And on the spelling achievement test, why, it doesn't look like we've spent 10 minutes teaching spelling. But of course we have. We should be unwilling to believe that we simply cannot teach students to spell any better than they're currently spelling. We're the gatekeepers of literacy. And on our watch over this generation of learners, let's do something that will make a difference. Hello, I'm Rebecca Sitton. So how do we go about making a difference? Is the solution a new workbook? No, workbooks are an immensely expensive substitute for a spelling curriculum. I've used workbooks and I've written them. But if we want results, they're not the answer. Students can fill in the blanks and spell on Friday, yet the transfer isn't there. But students do need what the workbooks tried to provide: spelling words, skills, practice. In fact, they need more practice than an isolated workbook can provide. Well, then perhaps the solution is a spelling program integrated with reading so that students can see the language connections and skills are not isolated. Well, I'm afraid I've written those too, only to find that a spelling add-on to a reading program makes spelling incidental, and the results reflect that. However, research does indicate that an integrated approach is better than an isolated one. So maybe just a good word list that integrates vocabulary from all the curriculum areas. No, that's not a spelling curriculum. It's just words. A reading curriculum is not a word list. A reading curriculum focuses on skills and strategies so that students become independent, strategic readers, and we can use the same good sense in spelling. A spelling curriculum is not a word list. So what's left? Here's a quick look at a solution to this dilemma that I'd like you to consider, a method that will deliver on the promise of spelling literacy. It is not a cutting-edge experiment. It is not a major investment of time or money. And it is not another promise that fails to work, because this classroom-tested method does work.
When I first heard about this program, I was against the program because I'd gone through traditional school myself and had tests on Fridays, so I felt my students should take tests on Fridays and be graded every Friday. And I was against it at first. But then as I heard more and more about it, and I talked with other teachers who use the program, I kind of thought maybe I could try the program and see if it would help my students in the classroom writing. And it worked.
Yes, it works. It's in its third edition now. The first editions evolved as a result of many educators who, like me, were dissatisfied with spelling.
We had nothing to risk by trying something else because our high schools were full of students who provided more than enough evidence in their writing that what we were doing wasn't working. So we completely reviewed the research and then began to combine solid research-based strategies with good old-fashioned common sense. And very important, we let go of practices that didn't work. And the result? An effective spelling curriculum began to take shape.
And then teachers said to me, Rebecca, this is far more than a spelling program. It's all about words for reading, writing, speaking, thinking, as well as spelling. It's phonics, vocabulary, usage, literature, writing conventions. So the name of the series is now the Source Book for Teaching Spelling and Word Skills. Look, there's one teacher resource book for every grade 1 through 8. And bound with each source book are 5 large teaching posters. The program is organized into units that feature essential spelling and language concepts, each with a menu of differentiated activities from which teachers choose to create a balanced curriculum, one in alignment with state and district guidelines for performance. And I credit teachers for their widespread use of my methodology. It's been teachers like Lisa Kadam who told others about their success. Listen to Lisa.
I love using this program with children. I've been using it for many, many years, and what I really appreciate the most is the way students are able to transfer what they've learned into their daily writing. Rather than letting the learning of a new word drop at the end of a test, they continue to learn to spell and spell correctly. They're better writers and better spellers thanks to this program.
Teachers like Lisa discovered that they could use the spelling source books as their source to develop their own spelling program. But all the while, I was discovering something else. Even when teachers knew the common sense methodology worked, and they knew that what they were doing wasn't working, changing the spelling curriculum wasn't easy. Tradition has very deep roots.
Teachers said, yes, Rebecca, the source book methodology works. But we'd like student practice books, ones that we can afford. And so teachers persuaded me that this would make the program stronger. So now there are optional student practice books for grades 1 through 6, not the traditional worn-out workbooks, but authentic opportunities for students to record their word collections and make word discoveries to support every major skill at each grade. You can use these cost-effective practice books with the second or third editions, or you can choose not to use them. You see, each grade level source book is a complete program in itself in which nothing is consumable. So we've come a long way from the first edition, haven't we?
The program unfolds now through sequential units with step-by-step guidelines. And as before, it makes you, the teacher, the practitioner, to select from a variety of now stronger activities and tests to craft your own balanced program your way. But the new source books provide more scaffolding, a more secure support system to create your own spelling curriculum. You'll be aware of a definite infrastructure that ensures your comfort and confidence.